is Esther from Estersaromas, and this is the final modified podcast with students and parents alike in mind, just to give a few tips and tricks to give people an idea of how to get through the exam season. So today is on healthy eating. So just to recap, Donna, on the last 3 modified podcasts that you've done. The first one was on timing your procrastination, on how to how to start your studying and starting with favourite subject and carrying on from there. The second one was on memory palace. My memory is a lot to be desired. Memory palace, and that was on going through different rooms in the house to and learning off, if you have to learn off a sequence of words or anything to do with a specific learning that you have to do for an exam. So going through different rooms in the house and associating them with the words that you have to learn. The third one was on sleep, which is so important, and to clarify on making sure that you get a certain amount of sleep a night, switching off, having your downtime, having your room clear. And the final one is on healthy eating. So if you'd like to take it away.
So the important thing around this time is to keep feeding the mind, because you're obviously going to be tired and trying to get as much in. So for the parent, it would be important to try and encourage the teenager to eat around these times. So using the preferred foods or favourite foods and doing up plates of that, rather than asking questions about what do you want to eat or those type of questions. When somebody is really quite anxious about getting all their work done, they may not necessarily want to stop to eat as well. But it's to encourage them to have time to eat by you making that food and it being ready for them. Now, if somebody is really finding it very hard to even eat, then, wraps and paninis are quite useful to make sure that you get your protein and your carbohydrate into the body, because you need to keep creating prostaglandins for the brain to work. And this is mainly achieved by the use of the various omegas, like nuts and seeds also are a source of omegas, so that somebody can keep eating away, even snacking on nuts and dried fruit whilst a person is studying. And whilst we're on the subject, then the use of water, because it's very, very important to keep hydrated while you're studying. So using water, drinking not so much tea or coffee after 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because the use of caffeine whilst you're studying isn't a great idea, because you're keeping yourself hyped up while you're trying to study at the same time. So it can be detrimental to your studying to try and keep yourself overly exerted. So whereas drinking water or juices or smoothies are quite useful.
Get up at 3 in the morning when the kids were really small and I had exams. I used to have to get up at 3 in the morning because it was the only free time I had before they actually woke. And when I'd actually start studying, I used to actually carry the notes and pace the kitchen. I don't know if it was that helpful to anybody else, but it helped me to keep motivated or stay active or keep it fresh. Whereas sometimes when you're actually sitting down and stuff, you could get you'd get stiff and sore, but as well as that, you lose concentration. And I also found that chewing was very, very helpful to me. Mm-hmm. It actually keeps you a little bit alert. I don't know, it probably isn't science proven or anything like that, but chewing for me while I was actually studying actually helped as well. The nuts are fabulous because they're great at actually getting in, like keeping your. It actually gives you energy. The nuts are fabulous for giving you energy. Some people would resort to actually taking things that were high in sugar, to actually keep them alert, and that's really bad because at the end of the day then they're going to burn off and you'll have highs for a while and then you'll drop off, and that's when you'll find it hard to actually stay concentrated on the subject that you're trying to learn. So nuts are fabulous and chewing was great, and I suppose I got up and I walked around when I was actually studying or when I was trying to learn something that I had to have off to a T. I'd go through the sequence that you said, but I'd actually be walking around the kitchen while I was doing it.
That's a good idea. I mean, I remember, you know, when somebody else was studying as well, what they did was they read passages out loud onto a voice memo that they had because they were finding it hard to remember it.
Yeah.
It was quite complicated. So, and then they burnt it onto a CD so that they could listen to the same thing over and over. You know, so even during break periods, then they could actually listen. And it's interesting because you're listening to your own voice. You can actually hear it back, and you're not trying to remember it that way. So there's a number of those things which are useful. There's voice memos on most mobile phones, so you can listen to it back yourself through the car or through your, you know, if you had a rock box or whatever, a speaker, so that you could actually hear yourself say the same thing. And then it would go into your mind easier because sometimes, as you rightly say, just sitting and reading, even with the anti-procrastination exercise, can be very hard on you. And it's important to get up and move around. But making sure that somebody has enough water is very important, as well as the nuts, as you were saying. And there is a bit of science attached to chewing, as you were talking about it there, and the fact that it's important that when we eat our food, that's why nuts are really useful. Is actually really important.
And the juices then and stuff like that I suppose are handy as a natural pick-me-up, and like convenience-wise, definitely, like I suppose, to be honest, when you're in the midst of exams, you don't want to have to stop to eat, even though it's so important. But as well as that, you don't want your mum to come into the room and you're in the midst of trying to actually get through something and they're going, well, what are you going to have for your lunch?
Yes. It's not you do not want to make a decision.
Yeah, definitely not.
You don't want to be making a decision. So it's about, you know, your mum at this point or dad just saying, well,
just
look, these are the preferred foods, and I'm going to make these during the time of the exams. Yeah. Because these are the important foods. These are the foods that she or he really loves to eat. Yeah. And so that is ready there.
Well, I hope people found some form of some bit, even if it was just one bit of information that was helpful to you in these modified podcasts. I mean, everybody has so many different techniques and stuff. I know you could use those post-its. Sean, I used to use the post-its and stuff and write down specific points that she'd have to remember and stuff, and then that was a quick way of revising and stuff like that. So many people will have different tips and tricks that they can use when they're studying, and if you want to post them up after these modified podcasts, do, because even if it just helps somebody who's entering into exams, who's finding it a bit daunting. The weather is fine and everybody's kind of saying, oh, you know, and I have to go in and study now. Even if you got some little trick from any of these modified podcasts that might be helpful to you, well then it was worth it at the end of the day. Thanks a million, Donna, for all the help and everything.
No problem at all.
And we might call on your help again at some stage.
All right, Esther.
Thanks again.
Take
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.